Good morning. Y'all are my accountability buddies. I leave this in here almost every week. We're not going to do it today. Now is the time where anyone of any age may come and join me at the front if you would like to see a little bit better. Indeed. So, I have a certain story that, Reverend Don and I are both kind of sharing it with you today on different levels. I don't know if you know this, but every year, our big parent organization for our denomination, the UUA, chooses a special book that's called the Common Read. And the reason they call it the Common Read is not because it's, average or mid, but because we decide that we're all going to read it in common. We're all going to read it. And it gives us something interesting to talk about that speaks to the times that we're in right now. And they picked it before a lot of the things that were happening this year and are still happening have happened. And I think it's really, really useful because one of the things that we feel or think sometimes when things are really hard is, I want to help, but I don't know how. And so the thing that I really like about this is it gives us some different ideas that we can think about ways that we already tend to kind of be helpers, things that are kind of in our nature or in our experience, so that we can figure out where we fit. So it's called We Are the Builders, and it's by Deepa Iyer. So that's what I'm going to share with you this morning. All right. Welcome to our community day. Ready to find your role to play? My name is Ramla. I'm your guide. Follow me and stay by my side. So many grown-ups and kids are here, and everyone wants to volunteer. There's plenty to do in our own town. There always is, right? Help new friends, plant trees in the ground. The time is now. Let's all play a part. Listen and learn. What moves your heart? We are the builders. We form and forge, construct and fix, improve homes with nails and bricks. See those old desks, tables, and chairs? Good as new with some repairs. Who wants to join the builders? Does it sound like any of you? I see a couple of people who aren't giving me a sign, and I know they're the builders because I see them here all week when I'm here. We are the caregivers. We comfort, console, soothe, and cheer. Care kits for all, near and dear. Acts of service and words that mend. How can I help, my new friend? Who thinks they would join the caregivers? I see a few people. Yeah, you think so? We are the frontline responders. We plan, protect, stay prepared. Storms brewing, but don't be scared. Stock cans of soup, bag fresh fruit, gather warm coats, gloves, and boots. Who wants to join the frontline responders? Yeah, you could pick more than one. Catherine may possibly have noticed something about that before the service even started, because her reading skills, my friends, are unparalleled. We are the disruptors. We declare, demand, demonstrate, call for change. Don't hesitate. Raise our voices, banners, and beats. Meet and march out in the streets. Who wants to join the disruptors? I see you. We are the experimenters. We scan, invent, and improvise, solve hard problems with fresh eyes. What if these used bottles and rags could become backpacks and bags? Who wants to join the experimenters? I'm noticing a trend here, Catherine. Flexibility is good. We may have to narrow it down a little bit. Oh. We are the weavers. We stitch, we braid, we intertwine. Common threads link hearts and minds. When people fight or disagree, we find what connects you and me. Who wants to join the weavers? Yeah. We are the visionaries. We dream, imagine, and inspire a world we all can admire. Fresh air, clean water, safe and free, bright futures. That's what we see. Who wants to join the visionaries? Yeah. We are the healers. We renew, restore, and relieve, tend to those who cry and grieve. Sometimes when the world is too much, we nurture with breath and touch. Who wants to join the healers? Yeah. Woof woof wants to join the healers, maybe. Yeah. We are the storytellers. I might like this one a little bit. We sing, we dance, we recreate, we create art, bring joy and love heart to heart. Vibrant murals preserve our past, histories cherished at last. Who wants to join the storytellers? Yeah. Of all the different roles to play, which one feels like you today? You could become a guide like me, show new folks what they can be. We mentor, we advise, we steer, share wisdom, honest and clear. Now that it's clear what each can do, we want to hear from all of you. What role would you choose? Who would you be? How will you change your community? And you can kind of get a little look here. I think this is pretty interesting. This is the diagram that Deepa Iyer uses to say, look at all the different things that you can be. And at the center, it says equity, which sounds very familiar to me. That's one of our jet pick values. Liberation, justice, another one of our jet pick values, and solidarity, which means that we support one another and we back each other up. And I like it because it kind of looks like our UU values diagram a little bit, doesn't it? You agree? Excellent. So these are things to think about. And this book will be here. If you think during coffee hour, you're like, I want to look at some of those again. I don't remember them all. Or there was one I really liked. I'm going to leave it up here. All right? Because lately they've been choosing kids' versions of the Common Read so that we can do them too. It's pretty important. But for now, we are going to sing our way out to our religious exploration small groups.
As you may have heard a couple times, maybe in the past few weeks, I answered last month's call for faith leaders to come to Minneapolis. Despite what some news outlets might have you believe, I did not go to protest or disrupt. In fact, I promised my loved ones that I would do what I could to not get arrested, though we all knew anything was possible. But that wasn't why I went. Instead, we were called there to bear witness, to see with our own eyes what was unfolding in a city that had become ground zero for something this country hadn't really seen in modern times. Thousands of federal agents deployed into a high population density area. And the people were fighting back, not with weapons, but through their love and support of each other. While we were there, we listened. We learned from organizers who have been doing this work, the foundation of which got started during the racial uprisings around the murder of George Floyd. We were there so that we could see with our own eyes, witness with our own bodies, and so that we could bring something honest and true back to our communities. I took so many notes, and you will be hearing about it for months. Deciding to go to answer that call with a yes was both an easy decision and not. Because, frankly, I'm not entirely sure what my role is at this moment. in this particular time when each of us are called to help resist the forces of oppression that are spreading throughout the country. Let me explain. When I was the settled minister in Louisville, Kentucky, raising my family there, embedded in a congregation, embedded in a community, my role felt clear. I knew how I was called to resist. I took actions that shook up the status quo. I raised awareness. I had relationships with many different organizations in town. I knew how to say yes when they asked me to put my body in place to make a point. But as an interim minister who moves around with only a few months left here, I found myself asking, what is my role here? What is my role now? Beloveds, I really like knowing what my job is. I like clarity. I like knowing my lane so that I can stick to it. And somehow going to Minnesota just to listen, to bear witness, and bring that witness back to you did not feel like enough. And I know I'm not alone in this feeling, this lack of clarity, of maybe knowing we can't do the big actions, and so we're not sure what we can do. I know I'm not alone because I've been having conversations with so many of you here at UUI and beyond, these same conversations. I want to help, but I don't know what to do, is on repeat right now. And I think that in part this is because when we picture justice work, we tend to picture one particular set of images. Marching in the streets, chanting outside of an office, sitting at a luncheon counter, risking arrest. We picture the big things, right? And those things matter. They genuinely do. But when that is the only image that we carry of what justice looks like and justice making looks like, a lot of people look at that image and think, I can't do that. Whether it's your abilities or our anxieties, something may keep us, something real may keep us from that big thing. But this image that everyone needs to be marching, needs to be willing to risk arrest, that is only a go big or go home image. And it is woefully incomplete. And it is problematic because the movement needs something from every single person in this room and beyond. And some of you are probably already doing it, that is justice work, without even realizing it. So as you heard Sarah share in the Words for All Ages, there's another model that provides us with a framework for this conversation. Actually, there are many, many, many models, but this morning we're going to dive into one of them, presented in the UUA Common Read, called Social Change Now, A Guide for Reflection and Connection by Deepa Iyer. Each year, the Unitarian Universalist Association invites us to collectively read a shared book, something we can reflect on together so that our language deepens and our imagination stretches and we are able to have conversations and go deep on something. And as Sarah said, boy howdy, the timing could not have been better on this book. Because what Iyer offers isn't a rallying cry. It's not a checklist. Instead, she's offering a way of seeing. Iyer is a lawyer and an activist and a strategist who has spent her career asking, why do social change movements sometimes fall apart? And what makes them thrive? And what she's found is something that sounds kind of obvious once you hear it, but that most of us have never been explicitly taught. And what she does is she calls it the social change ecosystem. So think about a forest, right? A forest is a good ecosystem most of us are familiar with. A forest isn't just trees, right? It's fungi passing nutrients between the roots. It's birds spreading seeds, decomposers breaking down what has died so that things can grow anew. It's the big trees and the little plants, and every piece in the forest has a function. You take one away and the whole thing weakens. A movement, Iyer says, is the same thing. It is the full, complex, interdependent web of people, each playing a role that makes justice possible. Could we get the slide, please? Wonderful, thank you. As Sarah shared, Iyer identifies 10 roles in this ecosystem. This isn't a hierarchy. It's not a ladder with the most important people at the top. Instead, it's a wheel with shared values at the center: equity, liberation, justice, and solidarity, and 10 ways of living into those values radiating outward. I'm going to take us through them, and as I describe each one, I want you to listen for yourself. Listen for the thing that makes you perk up a little or makes you lean forward a little. The thing that feels like, oh, that might be me. And let's start at the very top of the slide, and we're going to work our way around clockwise. I did push it. There we go. Weavers. Weavers see the through lines. They notice the connections between people, organizations, ideas, and movements that other people miss. They are the ones who say, did you know that what you're working on and what she's working on work together really well? Weavers are the network builders, the relationship holders, the bridge builders. They often work in the background, tying threads together so that the whole fabric holds. If you are a person who at coffee hour keeps saying, you two need to talk, you might be a weaver. Experimenters innovate, pioneer, and invent. They try things that have not been tried before. They are comfortable with not knowing whether something's going to work or not. They pilot a new program. They propose an unconventional solution. They are willing to fail and course correct because they know that progress requires people willing to be wrong in public. If you are the one who's always asking, what if we tried it this way? You might be an experimenter. Front-line responders address crisis. When something happens, like if a family is facing deportation or a community is hit by disaster or a policy change threatens vulnerable people, front-line responders mobilize. They organize resources, they coordinate networks, they get the word out. They are the ones who show up first and stay the latest. Their work is urgent and practical and often exhausting. They need deep support from the rest of the ecosystem. If you are the one who drops everything when someone is in trouble and organizes a toilet paper drive for the people in Puerto Rico, you might be a frontline responder. Visionaries. Imagine what is not yet real. Thank you. They generate the boldest possibilities. They hold the dream when everyone else is tired. They ask, what would a truly just world look like right now? What are we working toward, not just against? Their gift is direction. They point you toward the horizon. In a movement, you need people who can fight what is wrong, but you also need people who can describe what would be right. Without vision, resistance eventually runs out of reasons. If you're the one who's dreaming aloud about what could be, you might be a visionary. Builders. Builders take the vision and they make it structural. The book started off with the builders actually building things. Builders develop and organize and implement, turning ideas into organizations, plans, programs. They write the bylaws. They create the systems. If you are the one who turns every good idea into a project plan, you might be a builder. Caregivers sustain the people doing the work. They check in, they bring food, they hold space for grief and celebration alike. They remind us that the way that we treat each other is also a form of justice. If you are the one making sure people feel seen and held in this work, you might be a caregiver. And the disruptors, they shake up the status quo. They take uncomfortable, sometimes risky action. They interrupt. They make the invisible visible. They say the quiet things out loud. The suffragists were disruptors. The freedom riders were disruptors. If you are the one willing to say the thing everyone else is only thinking, you might be a disruptor. Healers tend to trauma, not just individual trauma, but the generational wounds caused by oppressive systems. They create space for grief, processing, and repair. In congregations, this often happens in small groups, pastoral care, music, and silence. If you're one of the people who's sitting with other people in their pain, you might be a healer. Storytellers craft and share the narrative through art, music, media, and story. They document what's happening and make people feel the stakes. Our musicians are storytellers. Our poets are storytellers. If making something beautiful in the service of something true is your deepest impulse, you might be a storyteller. And guides. Guides teach, counsel, and advise when they are asked to do so. They bring the wisdom of experience to others who are finding their way. They are mentors, elders, counselors. They have walked some roads before, and they offer what they learned. In a movement context, being a guide is usually conferred by others, not something that we can necessarily claim on our own, particularly if we don't have marginalized identities. At their best, guides help newer activists avoid mistakes, sustain themselves, and grow into their roles. They ask good questions. They share hard-earned discernment. If you are one of the people that people come to when they need perspective, you might be a guide. So 10 roles, 10 doors into the same work. And because the book is a workbook, Iyer walks you through questions to help you better discern what your role might be and where you fit. And here's something Iyer is insistent about and that I want to be equally insistent about this morning. None of these roles is more important than the others. A movement with all disruptors and no builders will have passion and no infrastructure. A movement with all builders and no storytellers will have programs and no soul. A movement with no caregivers will burn through people until no one is left to do the work. The ecosystem needs all of it. The ecosystem needs all of us. You are not less of a justice worker because you are not the one at the barricade. You might be the person who makes it possible for the person at the barricade to keep going. And there's one more thing Iyer says, actually, she says a lot, but there's one more today that I find profoundly freeing. These roles are not fixed. The role you play shifts with the season, the context, the moment. I was a disruptor for years. In some contexts, I still may be. But these days, I lean more towards visionary. The point is to know where your energy is right now and your skills and where they overlap, and to trust that that matters. And so now I invite you Sit quietly with what you heard and ask yourself, where do I recognize myself and my skills maybe being of use in this moment as we resist the forces that are bearing down on us? Not who you wish you were, not who you think you should be, not who you used to be 20 years ago when you were angrier or younger or had more energy. Right now, in this season, in this moment, which of these roles feel like you? For our purposes today, you can choose up to 3. Now, this is not a quiz with right answers. It is a mirror, an invitation to look honestly at where your gifts and your energy actually intersect, and then to trust that those gifts are needed. I know that's so hard to see. For those of you who are in the sanctuary, you were handed a slip of paper when you came in. If you don't have one, raise your hand and someone near you can hand one to you, I'm sure. Or if you prefer, you can pull out your phone and use the handy dandy QR code that's on there. We have a Google form that you can fill out. For those of you who are online, you can also use the QR code, or if you prefer, one of our tech folks will put the link into the chat. During this special moment, music in just a moment, I invite you to pick, as I said, up to 3 roles. Put them on the slip or the form. We will be collecting the slips during the offering. And then sit with the question, what would it mean to lean into these roles more intentionally this year? After today, we will collaborate what you shared. We'll look at what this congregation has, and we'll share what we find on Slack so that we can all see the UUI ecosystem together. What might we be rich in? Where might there be gaps? And here's the thing, this ecosystem framework applies to organizations too. UUI itself plays a role in the larger Indianapolis ecosystem. And it would make no sense for us to try to be a disruptor organization if most of the people here are healers and caregivers, right? So knowing who we are collectively helps us to decide what actions make sense for us to take as individuals and also collectively. This is part of what I learned in Minneapolis. I watched an ecosystem that knew itself pretty well. People who had been doing this work for years and knew their roles, who trusted each other to show up in the ways that they were ready to show up, and new folks too, getting integrated, finding their skills. And it worked. It's still working. Don't think it's not working still. Just because the drawdown has supposedly happened, they are still struggling every day. But it's working not because everyone is doing the same thing, but because everyone is doing their thing. And they know the ecosystem will hold. Because here's the truth that this book gave me. The question is never, am I a justice person? The question is, what kind of a justice person am I? You are already in this ecosystem. You have been all along because you're people who care about things. The work I'm asking of you this morning is simply to find your place in it more clearly, to name what you bring, and to trust that it is exactly what the ecosystem needs. Whatever role you are in, it is a form of love. And this is a time when love needs every single one of us to do exactly the thing that we are able and willing to do. So, know your role, trust your gifts, and let's get to work. May it be so. May we, together, make it so.